welcome to Caching in the Northwest. This is the podcast from the birthplace of geocaching right here in the great Pacific Northwest. I've said this a few times and you'd think I'd start to get used to it, but still, this is a live podcast. I just wanted to prove that to you. So I'm Chris of the Northwest, and it's 9 o'clock on Thursday evening. So we're going to be talking about geocachers and geocaching from here and all around the world. So while you're devising ways to sneak turkey into every upcoming meal, we'll be caching in the Northwest. And tonight, we're talking with our guest, Subwaymark, about caching with your favorite canine. Hopefully it's the one you own, but you could be caching with somebody else's. We're not all that picky. And live audience, we want to know your thoughts about canine caching. Now, we can't get started until we bring in our barking baboon. Some say he knows 13 different ways to make ice. And others say he was disappointed that the Air and Space Museum wasn't empty. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Still thinking that last one over a little bit, but okay.
Air, space, it should be empty.
Should it? Okay. Yeah. All right. That's fine. I'm going to say you've had way better intros than that one. I'm wondering if we're scratching the bottom of the barrel now. So,
dude,
before the show, I said I was not going to be nice until the 500th episode.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
You've had fair warning.
Komokino gets the last one, and he's laughing.
There you go. All right. Well, I'm glad somebody enjoyed it. All right. Hey, it is a quick reminder that we appreciate the support of our patrons who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. Thanks to Land Sharks, one of our corporate Denali level sponsors. And hey, not only are they still running the 15% on some items, but now across the entire store, it is Black Friday sales going on at Land Sharks. So go check them out online. You're going to find stuff on sale. You're going to be able to get, just the thing that you wanted for Christmas, I'm sure. But
yay!
There you go. Merry Christmas, Chris. But on top of that, for every $25 Canadian spent before tax, you will get a promo geocaching holiday tag. You know, they do this every year. Geocaching.com and the official retailers, they have some sort of unique tag. Well, they got another one this year. It's a different one. So if you like collecting those, well, go spend your money. All right. Well, you can check it all out at landsharks.ca. And let's not forget our other corporate Denali level sponsor. You threw me off. That's Gold Country Geotourism. Visit exploregoldcountry.com. Learn more about the geotours and the region. And don't forget, there's an app to download, and that app will give you all kinds of great travel tips and highlights and good information for you to use to explore Gold Country. And remember, you don't just have to save that for the summertime. You can explore Gold Country in the winter. All right. Anyways, if you want to check them out on Facebook, it's Explore Gold Country. And on their website, again, exploregoldcountry.com. And folks, if you just like supporting this podcast, and it seems we are getting a growing number of people who do, Chris, you were sharing with me, we're continuing to increase our patrons, which is amazing. We're very thankful for all of them. And Chris, you maybe before I jump into the last thing, we were discussing something for if anybody is signing up as a patron. Is there a piece of advice that you would like to ask them?
Yes. Now, I haven't signed up as a patron to this podcast in quite a while. I did just to test it out. And there should be a little questionnaire that follows. But when you do, if that questionnaire doesn't pop up, let us know your geocaching name, please.
There you go. Awesome.
We'd love to say how thankful we are. Sorry, Land Monkey, I cut you off there. We'd love to say how thankful we are, but we'd like to acknowledge you as your geocache name. Some people don't like their real name put out into the, real world. But nonetheless, we prefer to use the geocaching names, geocaching handles here to talk about our patrons. So thank you all, patrons. And it's Thanksgiving here in America.
Oh, yes.
And it's a time to say thank you. And truly from the bottom of my heart, and I know this is also from Wits End and Land Monkey. I'm speaking for you, Land Monkey, even though you're here to speak for yourself. Thank you. Thank you for the patrons that keep us going. Thank you for the listeners. It's okay if you don't give money to the podcast. Really, it's okay. We want you to be a part of it. You can write in, you can call into 253-693-TFTC and share us your glow. You could tell us about your latest cache find. However you want to share your love of geocaching with us, we want to hear about it.
Absolutely. And on that note, happy Thanksgiving, Chris, to you, and Mark, to you and Dylan as well.
Yep. Yeah, to you guys too.
I see Dylan's trying to sneak into the podcast already. Making an early appearance. All right. Folks, if you want to know more about supporting this podcast, not only can you click on the Patreon link on the cachingandw.com website, but also, as Chris mentioned, giving us a review on iTunes, giving us a thumbs up during the podcast on whichever streaming service you're watching this on. All of those things make a big difference and really, really help us out. So we thank you for any and all of those methods of support.
Yes. There's a few things I want to say. GSM times 2 says happy Thanksgiving to my U.S. friends. And he's also very happy to be a supporter of the podcast.
Thank you.
Now, there's a mention here from a Facebook friend, and I believe that's to you, Land Monkey, to be nice.
We'll see. We'll see how that works out. By the way, that's my mom.
I thought it was.
Yeah. My mom's keeping an eye on me. That's how bad I've been lately. Now my mom has to watch the podcast and tell me to behave. Good luck with that, Mom.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, no, it hasn't. But boy, am I in trouble at Christmas. I'll tell you that much right now.
We should get your mom as a producer on the show. Have her stay in the background.
We have enough trouble with people behind the scenes on this podcast.
Just one more.
Nodding from behind the scenes. Yeah.
Oh, Kitty Quest says, happy Thanksgiving to all in the U.S. I thank you.
There you go. Awesome. Well, this has been a fun start. Can we talk to Mark now?
I don't know. Let's talk to your mom some more.
Actually, I just want to see Dylan. Really, that's why I came tonight, because Dylan's my favorite.
Oh, that's hilarious. Hey, speaking of Dylan, there's Dylan. Let's everybody loves Dylan.
Why would you not love that doggy?
Yeah. If you want to add something to tonight's chat, and I know you do, use the hashtag Dylan. That's DYLAN. And of course, that's the reason we're talking about dogs tonight, is only because we want to see Dylan again. And Mark, you too.
Oh yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, Mark's here.
Oh yeah. Here, I'll just put Dylan on.
There we go.
Oh, and of course you can use Fatas to bring up something in the after show. I'm completely out of sync right now because of Dylan's cuteness. I've just thrown up me off schedule. It can't be that I ate a large meal prior to this. No, that wouldn't be it. No,
full of overwhelming cuteness of Dylan.
Yeah, overwhelming cuteness of Dylan. And of course, on a night like this, we know you're doing some podcast baking. So use the hashtag podcast baking to tell us what you've got cooking tonight, or maybe what you've already cooked. Like homemade pumpkin pie. My wife cooked that. Baked that. There we go. See? Dylan looks like a great geodog.
Dylan is a great geodog.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We'll talk about that more. But before we jump into that, we got just a little bit of news, I see.
We do.
Should I jump in on that, or did you want to?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. We have heard from our good friends at Tri-Cities GeoCoin Challenge. Remember that back in June?
Well, kind of. I had already planned a vacation by the time they set the date. So,
okay. Well, it'll be around again next year, and hope I can see not only you guys and Jim, but all of there's many of our guests who can make it down there, and
Dylan.
Dylan. Yeah,
Yeah.
hope to see Dylan there. That'd be awesome.
Maybe he'll bring Mark around.
He's going by himself.
He's like, forget this. There's plenty of people to give me cookies there. All right. Anyways, Tri-Cities GeoCoin Challenge, always a lot of fun. Wonderful folks who manage that and arrange it. Well, they have plenty. That's in air quotes. Well, it's not air quotes. I'm doing air quotes. It's in
quotes
in quotes. Yeah, I guess. They have plenty of coins available. If you haven't completed the challenge, they still have plenty of event coins and limited edition coins available. If you haven't completed the challenge, now I'm confused. Wouldn't you still need to find all the caches?
Well, if you haven't completed it, now's your chance to go complete it because they still have coins available.
Okay, there is something missing from that sentence that I was getting confused. Like, they're just handing out coins now? Okay, so
yeah, go ahead.
If you hadn't completed the challenge, the caches are still there. Go complete the challenge, get your code words, and the Richland Parks and Rec Department will be open this holiday weekend. That's this weekend right now. So you can pick up your coins. So that's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
That is very cool.
40 adventure labs, 40 adventure locations. I'm still trying to get the terminology right.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. So you may need snow tires to go up to Gold Country. You don't need snow tires in the Tri-Cities right now.
Well, not in the Tri-Cities, but I think you need them to get there, depending where you're coming from.
You might need them. But it will be decent weather there in the Tri-Cities. So go grab those.
Awesome. All right.
Well, there we have it. Yeah. Woof, 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 woof. Actually, Subwaymark, welcome back.
Did you? Am I here?
Yeah, you're here. We're actually going to talk to you for a moment.
Okay, good.
Good to see you, Mark.
Good to see you.
Did you know you're one of the most requested guests that we have to have come back on? So I'm just letting you know, I don't want to inflate your head too much tonight. We'll get to Dylan, and that'll totally,
it's all about Dylan. It's all Dylan today, so it's okay.
Hey, before we get into it, I know we got a few questions for Mark here. Before we get into that, Mark, on my recent trip to England this past fall, I started doing some sidetracked series caches, and I know you're a big proponent of them, and I'm thinking we should probably plan another episode, bring you on the show and talk about sidetrack, because I think you know a lot more about the sidetrack series than I did.
Well, considering I have the most in the US, I own most in the US, so
there you go.
Yeah.
I knew you owned a lot. I didn't know you owned the most in the US. Wow.
That's awesome. So there you go. Future episode.
Like 90% of them in the US I own. So
wow.
Okay.
Chris, take a note. Future episodes.
That just blew me away right there. Okay. Well, hey, how about if we plan for Christmas Day? What day of the week is that?
How about we give Mark a break? He doesn't have to do both holidays.
It's a holiday thing.
Why don't you, since we brought it up, tell us a little bit what the Sidetrack series is, just to get people interested for the upcoming show.
Sure. Sidetrack is a series of geocaches that are based. They're usually near train stations. They're all railroad based, and they're supposed to be at or near existing or train stations or stations that have been abandoned or repurposed or something like that. So the only thing is they shouldn't be on railroad property, because that's against railroad. That's against geocaching rules anyway. Right. So that's pretty much that. But the idea is you tell a little bit of the history of the station and stuff like that. So it's more than just taking you to spot. You're supposed to learn a little bit about the history, and they're all over. It's based in the UK, but they are all over the world too.
And they're super well organized. Like, there's an actual web page you can go to check all the stats on them and see the listings. And
that's correct.
So yeah, I enjoyed doing a number of those when I was in the UK. I actually hadn't come across any that I'm aware of in North America yet, but now I'll be an eye open for them, especially now that I know who owns 90% of them.
Well, and on that show, I can show you they actually they do 3D printing of caches, and I bought a few that are look like trains and stuff like that. So it's
Neat.
kind of cool.
That's really cool.
Neat. Okay, well, there we go. Hey, thanks for coming on tonight. We'll
Bye.
look forward to having you later.
We talked about Dylan. We talked about we're done.
What else is there?
Actually, let's talk about you for a moment.
Yeah.
There's a chance somebody's listening and doesn't know who Subwaymark is. I don't know why that would be, but that could happen, right? So why don't you give a little history of how long you've been caching? I want to say what your favorite type of cache is, but I think I already know. It's a sidetracked cache, right? Well, no, because you own them all. So then it would be hard for you to find. Tell us what your favorite type of cache is.
Yeah, probably my favorite type of cache is it's usually a virtual or any cache that actually takes me to some place that's historical. That is my favorite kind of cache. I like learning something about an area, and my caches are usually the same. It's usually you learn something about the area. It's not about the hide necessarily, more about the location, and that's what I like about them.
Fantastic. How long have you been geocaching?
I started geocaching in 2007.
Ooh.
For my 40th birthday. So that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been at it for a while.
Yep.
And so for how much of that time have you been taking Dylan along caching?
Well, Dylan, we've had Dylan for five years now. He just turned 6. So he's been caching as soon as we adopted him a few weeks later. Actually, it was on Thanksgiving. It was on Thanksgiving that first year. I took him geocaching to Adair Village. It's an old army base in Oregon, just north of Corvallis, and they have a bunch of geocaches. And we just did that while everyone's prepping dinner. And he found his first geocache. I was looking for it, and he just walked up and put his foot on the container. So it's like, oh, there you go.
That's awesome.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. He, that was the only time he's ever done that, but it was kind of cool. He did that on the first try.
Well, given that that was also on Thanksgiving, happy cache-iversary to Dylan.
That's right. and our previous I've had other golden retrievers before that, and the Cinnamon and Rusty were prior to him, and I have pictures of them going geocaching with me. So I've been geocaching with dogs for quite some time. It gets them out and gets me out. So it's really great for doing walks and stuff like that with them.
Yes, of course.
So I guess we answered Start Cacher's question. How old is Dylan? 6?
Yep, 6. He just turned 6.
There we go. Awesome. And I thought there was another. There's lots of questions.
There's lots. So we know Dylan is a natural geocacher. Were any of your other dogs geocachers? I mean, they could go find the container for you. Did they help in locating it?
Well, they're never always helpful, but Cinnamon, we're in Vegas. We were looking for a geocache, and it happened to be a LPC that was low to the ground, and she again put her foot on the LPC skirt. It's like, okay, I guess it's under that skirt. I think she found another one too, if I remember right. But usually they're just out to enjoy stuff. Of course, it's annoying when I'm trying to actually zero in on finding geocache, and they want to do other things. Like, why? I'm geocaching. Come on.
Well, okay, so I've not taken my current dog geocaching. I've taken the previous one. And she would be very good. Okay, when I'm looking for a cache, I need both hands, right? So I'll either let her off leash or let the leash go, depends on, where we are. And she would stay right in the area with me. She wouldn't wander away. And that would be helpful because then I could go look for the cache, call her and grab the leash, and off we go. Do your dogs do that as well?
Yeah, sometimes it depends on where I am. Sometimes I'll let him just off leash as long as he doesn't get out of earshot. It's fine.
Mhm.
Or if I'm concerned, I will basically tie his lead to a tree or something like that, tree branch, just so he doesn't go wandering too far. It
Mhm.
depends. It all depends. Usually it's fine. Um, there was another time I was caching in St. It's called St. Louis Ponds, and not too far from me. And I just let him go really off leash, and he just took off like a rocket ship. But as long as I have a ball or a treat, I know he's going to come back because I just call him and show the ball or the treat, and he's like, "Oh!" He spins around and comes right back to me. So.
Houston, Texas. Dave brings that up. He needs a dog handler assistant while geocaching.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, some dogs could be a little rowdy and want to go everywhere. So if you can't tie them off to something secure, it can be a hassle to take a dog with you. So I think you know this, but I think you have to have the dog of a right temperament to go with you.
Yeah, if the dog's too high strung, it's not going to work. That's for sure.
Well, maybe it also depends what kind of caching you're doing, right? I mean, we're kind of assuming that it's the going down a trail and stopping for every cache and that kind of thing. But I mean, if you've got a high energy dog and you're out for a run and you're not, you'll casually grab a cache if you happen to stop near one, then that's great. Like there's all kinds of different geocaching and
all kinds of different dogs.
And all kinds of different dogs. We used to take Jasper out geocaching very often when we would go. And it was funny because he got to the point where if we're getting in the Jeep or in the truck and he's in his kennel in the back and he knows where we're going. He's ready for it, right? It's like, all right, we're gonna go on an adventure. So
well, our prior two dogs, they would tend to be dog aggressive every so often, so I had to be careful doing hikes with them if I knew there was going to be a lot of dogs because it could be kind of interesting. Just like I would not take them to events too often. Now Dylan, I'd take to any event. Even there was a little. You heard about that event in Abbotsford?
No,
Have you
tell
heard
us
about
about
that?
him.
Yeah, it was something called Geo Woodstock or something like that.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, he had a ball. He had a great time at that. So
it was awesome to see him there, Mark. Thanks for bringing him up.
Well, he has a trackable, which I should put that in the track.
There's a question about that.
There's several questions, at least. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he is trackable. Anyone want to put? Here's the code: GSQCM0.
Ooh, did you get that, everybody? Everybody's busy. Okay.
GSQM is.
All right, so we've lost our audience for a few minutes.
That's right. They're all gone. Trackable.
The internet's going to crash, but
oh, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Mark.
But
yeah.
But I had put a Post-it note on him at Geo Woodstock, and people would run up to him, get his code. Meanwhile, I was wearing my nameplate with my trackable. No one cared.
That's life with a golden retriever, man.
I know.
You're secondary.
Actually, I think there's a photo of it. I don't know, Chris, if you want to pull that up or not.
Oh yeah.
Why, look at this.
Aw.
Now, I believe you shared with me at that event that you had trouble moving from place to place because people kept stopping to get Dylan.
Constantly. It was constant. We actually took him back to the Airbnb after lunch because he was exhausted with so much attention.
There you go.
And I've never seen him so exhausted before like that.
Oh, poor guy.
He had a great time though.
I feel that way after a big event.
It's true.
like Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
Well, that too.
Hey, on that
He
note,
remembers meeting Dylan. I wonder when he saw Dylan.
I don't know.
I don't know.
That picture.
It wasn't. Was he that picture? I don't know.
That was Signal. Anyhow, speaking of Dylan getting tired and having to take them back and such. Is there anything specific that you bring along for Dylan, or that you would advise other folks who are considering caching with their dogs to bring with them?
Well, first of all, so one thing that Dylan has is he has his own go bag.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
So when we go traveling, especially road trips, this is his go bag. So this has water bowls. It has his treats. He knows it has his treats. He's looking at it right
I
now.
was going to say, he looks excited now that you have lifted the bag. It's like, ooh, where are we going to go?
Well, he knows this is his bag. If I'm bringing this down to the garage, he's like, "We're going." It has extra, dog poop bags and stuff like
Mhm.
that, and so it's perfect, his go bag. Another thing I recently got, haven't really used it yet because I haven't needed it, but I got these little foot booties.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Okay.
got them because when we go to Canada, we're going to go to Calgary in the summer, and sometimes Calgary can be damn hot. And I was very concerned if it goes above 90 degrees, it's not good to walk dogs on pavement because they can burn their feet. Luckily, we didn't need it. The temperatures were in the 80s, so it was fine. But it's also, we're going to go to Bend in later this month, and so that's snow. So that's also good
Mm-hmm.
to prevent their feet from freezing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
I wish I did that for the previous dogs, but this dog, I've learned all the lessons of previous ones. So.
I mean, I've had to clean snow packed out, between the dog's toes, right? So I mean, it must be uncomfortable because their toes are splayed out. They can't, get them retracted to normal, and that snow's packed in there tight. So I completely understand putting socks or boots on a dog to take them out in the snow.
Yep.
So Houston, Texas, Dave says his wife has the same bag for him, a go bag with treats and water bottles. Oh, that is too funny. That is hilarious, Houston, Texas, Dave. And Kitty Quest says that apparently now you have to go do some night caching.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Oh,
And I will say,
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, well, the other thing I when I'm geocaching with Dylan is I'm more likely to have water with me than if I'm by myself.
Okay.
Because I think about him more than I myself. But it's actually good because it means I will drink water too.
Yeah.
So it really works out well.
Now, a couple of weekends ago, I was out with Wits End, and they have a new dog, and I saw this device for the first time. It screws on. No, I think it's a bottle of it in and of itself of water, but the lid on the bottle kind of has a half moon shape to it. You can pour water into the bowl, put it in front of your dog. They can drink out of it, but it's still a water bottle, but it's got a special, end on it so that it's easy for the dog to drink out of, and it's portable.
That sounds pretty cool because right now, we have these collapsible ones. So
that's what we had for Jasper. Yeah. Those are pretty handy. So Dylan has a go bag. Do you ever have saddlebags for him?
No, I have not tried that yet. And one of these days I might actually consider doing that. So I wind up carrying his stuff. He doesn't care.
Yeah, we had that for Jasper. So if we went on a longer hike, he'd have all of his food and maybe some water or whatever balanced the saddlebags on him, and it worked really well. So that's another option.
Yeah, I really should consider doing that so he can carry his own stuff.
Right? That's how we looked at it. You're a big boy.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. He saddlebags to do it on his own. Here you go. Here's an example of what it looked like from Amazon. So it's a water bottle, but it's got this little bowl at the end of it that the dog can easily drink out of. And then, if he doesn't drink at all, you can pour the water back into the bottle. Yeah, sure, it's got a little dog saliva on it, but so does their water bowl.
So that looks like there's like a switch there that opens the
it might be
valve. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I've never seen that before.
I never saw that, and I thought, oh, that's genius because it's small, it's easy to carry. And you can control when the dog drinks rather than, I'm going to pour out water. Oh, the dog isn't really thirsty. Oops. Okay. Here we go. From GSM times 2. When I would tell Bellagio, you want to go out, she would reach one level of excitement. When I would say, do you want to go geocaching? She would get much more excited.
Yep. Yeah, they know the different words for sure. They
Oh,
really
yeah.
do. It's just like if I say we're going to Home Depot. He loves going to Home
Okay.
Depot. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Must be the
You
smell of the
can
wood.
take dogs into Home Depot. They're fine
Yes.
with that.
Yep.
Pet stores usually you can go into.
Mhm.
I don't know where else you can take dogs in.
Well,
That's-
you can take him in anywhere, but you might get turned around.
Yeah, that's right.
And then some restaurants allow them on their patios and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Right. You can always have them in the patios. Yeah.
Well, and
so,
that's actually. Oh, go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
so that was going to be my next thing is
Yeah.
when you're traveling with your dog, and geocaching. So I always look ahead where we're going and see what restaurants are in town will allow a dog on their patio. So I mean, a lot of breweries tend to do it, so that makes that's pretty easy. But sometimes not all breweries have food, so I'm always trying to find a place that has food. And some places actually have special dog menus, so
Oh,
that
wow.
you can order something for your dog, which
I
is
know you can
pretty
do that at
pretty insane.
Starbucks.
Hmm.
Well, we when we were in Calgary, I looked up and there was a restaurant and in the old section of Calgary in downtown, and they actually had 3 items for dogs that you could get, and of course I had to order Dylan one of those, and he thought it was the best thing ever.
I bet. Yeah.
And you didn't even drop it on the floor.
I know. And then sometimes you're lucky to go to a restaurant and they bring something out. So we were doing a road trip and we were in New Mexico, eating at a Mexican restaurant, which was fantastic. And they brought out a whole bowl of shredded chicken for him to
Oh,
eat.
wow.
Oh my gosh.
And he thought it was like, oh my God, I've died and gone to heaven.
Yeah. No kidding.
He gives you the look of, are you eating this all the time?
Hey.
You need dog food?
Well, he turns to me every so often. So are we going to Mexico tomorrow?
Yeah. Right. Too funny.
And the other part, of course, is if you're going long distance geocaching, which we have with Dylan, is hotels. A lot of hotels are dog friendly, but not all of them. Most of them now charge for dogs.
Yeah.
Right.
But the prices are all over the map. It could be as little as $10. It could be $50. It could be even $100 to have a dog in a room. So it's all.
So Dylan seems to enjoy it, though.
Yes, that's Dylan at a hotel. That's the first thing he does when we go into any hotel room is he jumps on the bed and says, "It's mine."
I don't know where you guys are sleeping. There's a bathtub.
That's right. That's exactly what he does.
Oh, that's so cute. For those who are listening to the audio version, we've got a picture here of Dylan just chilling out on a hotel bed, giving Mark the look that he can go find somewhere else to sleep.
Right. That's correct.
That's right. My dogs, I've been blessed to get dogs from my sister-in-law who raises Australian Shepherds. So I get an adult dog that's already incredibly well trained, which is like, wow, this is incredible. But I think my dogs, I think, are neater than the average children that would go into a hotel. Like I shouldn't have to pay a security deposit for my dog because trust me, you won't even know that she was there.
There you go. Well, yeah. But I mean, that's the thing, right? It's always the lowest common denominator they have to work from. So.
Exactly.
And not all not all dogs are good hotel dogs. Our previous 2 were not the greatest. They would bark at any noise they would hear. Dylan's pretty chill. He will only get excited if he hears when someone knocked on our door. Then he went ballistic. But that's okay. But but if someone walked down the hall, it's fine. He doesn't care.
That's a really good point, Mark, because I've been in hotels before where other folks have had dogs and listened to them barking all night. And I'm like, seriously?
Oh, and then we had one dog who couldn't stand tile floors, and that was comical taking him in through hotels. We went into a lobby of a La Quinta, and It was all tile floors, and he literally jumped into a potted plant to
Oh,
avoid the
no.
floor. It was so hysterical.
Oh dear. Hey,
Oh, that is hilarious.
so yeah, there's a couple of comments here. So while we're talking about the hotels, GSM times two says the housekeeping staff would earn their fee for having to vacuum the fur, and I think that's a good point as well because various dogs shed various amounts, and
Yes.
even if your dog barely sheds, probably being in the warm room that may increase a bit of the shedding, etc. So that's a good point. And the other one, I think, related to the food.
Mm-hmm.
CRS 98 says there's a restaurant just a few blocks from geocaching HQ called Norms that is dog friendly. They allow them inside as well. And he says he used to have a geocache there called Doggy Bowl. That's awesome.
I found that one.
Did
I-
you?
Yeah, I've heard about that place. I haven't been there. 'Cause the fact that they allow a dog inside the restaurant is very unusual. And
Yes.
we were in Oklahoma City, and it was hot, but we were going to sit on the outdoor patio with Dylan,
Mhm.
and then they would go up to the counter and say, "Okay, we need a table," and says, "Would you like to sit inside with the dog?" Yes. So they opened the door, and Dylan just like, "I'm going inside." He flew right. 'Cause I'm eating
He knew where he
inside.
was going.
That's right.
He's so shy. Yeah.
It's-
There's a question from UDAC here. I don't know if any of us,
I
somebody,
got it.
there we go.
Um, I think what she's trying to say, if a hotel is pet friendly, are there designated rooms for pet owners? Or are they all available to pet owners?
That's a great question. I think most
Yes.
hotels designate rooms for pet owners.
Mhm.
So that's why if you reserve a room, you should call. If you do reserve a room online, you should call the hotel before you get there to make sure that they realize you're bringing a pet, because they may not have a room for you, even though there are rooms available.
Right. And my sister-in-law, different sister-in-law, is very allergic to dogs and cats. So going into a hotel room that had a dog in it, within a day or two would be enough to set her off. So, knowing that is really important.
There you
Yeah.
go.
GSM times two says they try to designate special rooms, but they are not exclusive.
Correct. So yeah, my recommendation for people who don't have pets and they're very allergic to, and they know that hotel allows pets, ask for a room that is not
That's-
pet friendly.
It's pet free. Yeah.
Yes.
That has always been pet free.
And then back to that one about housekeeping. So if we have Dylan, we will tip the housekeepers much more than we do.
Mhm.
Sometimes I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't always tip the housekeeping staff, but if we have Dylan, I always tip because I see the tufts of fur everywhere.
Right. Right.
So,
That's a really good point, Mark. That's a good thing for people to keep in mind. And it is like GSM times two was saying earlier, and as you're agreeing, like it is extra work for housekeeping by us having a dog, even if your dog, doesn't make a mess per se in the
Mhm.
room. There is going to be more cleaning than would likely be under normal circumstances. I'm kind of assuming we're all reasonable people who don't trash hotel rooms.
Oh, I have accountants to pay for it.
There you go. I think you're going to need more patrons, Chris.
Especially if any own a hotel. I've been banned from most of them.
Another road trip with Chris. All right. Good stuff though.
Yeah.
Mark.
Now-
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Chris. Jump in.
As you're traveling, I assume if you're traveling with Dylan, most of it is in a vehicle by car.
yes. Yeah.
How often do you stop? Do you plan to stop to allow the dog to stretch its legs, get out, move?
Yeah. So try to if we're doing a long haul day, like an 8 or 10 hour drive day, I try to stop every 2 hours, just to get him out of the car, to stretch his legs, lift his leg.
Mhm.
He's a male, so
All about the legs.
so that, I mean, it's good habit. If he's sleeping, I don't necessarily worry about it, but I try to do it every 2 hours. It's good for us too to stretch our legs,
Mhm.
to get
And
out of the
lift your
car.
leg.
And lift my leg too.
Yeah.
That's what tires are for. So
Now it's your car.
no, I parked next to another car.
Oh, make it a more expensive car and then mark it. I'm
That's
sorry, this one's mine.
it's mine now.
Oh, too funny. So let's say you're on a geocaching road trip and Dylan's along and you want to make stops. Do you try and plan the stops for places where maybe you'll be able to go and grab a cache at the same time if you can?
I try to if I can. Either usually I try to make it a geocache stop or just a rest stop along the way, which a lot of rest stops happen to have geocaches, but not always. But like I do try to plan ahead. I am definitely a planner.
Excellent. And GSM times 2 has another dog in the vehicle question here. It's a great one. He asked, do you crate Dylan when you're traveling or does he have free range of the vehicle?
Well, that's a great question. So we actually doggy seatbelt him in. So it's just a harness that I that clips into one of the seatbelts and then clips to his harness to keep. So if we do have an accident, he won't go float through the windshield. Our previous dogs didn't have that, but we had him in the back of the SUV and had basically a gate so they couldn't get into the front part of the vehicle.
So the back of the vehicle became a large crate for them.
That's correct.
Traveling kennel.
Basically. But for Dylan, we keep him in the back seat with just seat belted in, basically.
Yeah, that's a really neat idea.
Yeah, that's so do you also have a seat cover in the back? A dog approved, maybe hair doesn't stick to it as well?
I definitely do that. Yes. Actually, the one I have now in my Honda actually really does not attach. The hair doesn't attach to it very well, so that's great. Which is good when I have guests come into the back seats of the car, so they're not totally hairy. But it's also pretty quick to pull it off. So if people are very uncomfortable sitting on the dog seat, that they can sit on the real seat.
Nice. Now, when you're you can't always travel in the best of weather. So if you have your break, I found that most travel stops, rest stops along freeways have a dog area, at least in the US, or at least here in Washington state. I guess I shouldn't speak for everything, right? Most of the places where I found geocaches are in the dog area. So
it's kind of true. Yeah. Every restaurant I've ever been to has a designated dog area. So they can do their business. The only thing is I wish people would clean up after their dogs. I know it's a dog area, but please clean up after your dog.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean you don't have to clean up. Exactly.
Exactly. Your mom doesn't work there.
Yeah. Not my mom, anyways. That's actually a good point. Talking about cleaning up after your dog, and not just rest areas, but like if you're out caching on a trail with Dylan, we talked about some of the things that you bring. Is like, what's your opinion like with dog bags? Do you use those if you're on a trail, or do you sort of kick it off the trail? Or
I use them. So on his leash, I have this poop bag. So I pick him up all the time. The hard part is figuring out where to dump it. But
you don't just toss them into the trees? Isn't that what everybody does?
I find a hole in the tree and I stuff it in there.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's a geocache too. Who knew?
Oh, well.
Bonus.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm obviously teasing you, Mark, but I think that is a pet peeve for me when I'm walking down a trail and I look at the bushes on the side and there's dog bags full and hanging in the bushes. I'm like, come on.
They would have been better off actually just letting them poop and not even bagging them.
Right. Exactly.
It would have been much.
It would biodegrade eventually, right?
Yeah.
Now it's in a plastic bag and it's going to stay there.
Exactly.
A lot longer, anyways. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do you do when your dog goes out and gets dirty? Right. Let's say you take them out to the beach. Right. The dogs are going to get sand all over it. I don't know. I would want to
smell great.
Going to smell great. I would like to wipe them down before they get into the car, but what do you plan for that?
If it's really bad, I'll tile them off. But we have WeatherTech floor mats in the car,
Okay.
so it makes it very easy to clean up later.
Mhm. It does.
I love WeatherTech. It works really well. It's easy to clean up with dog fur that goes everywhere. So,
So very true. The bagged poo we're getting a lot of comments on.
Yeah.
Uh,
It is a lively chat tonight. I mean, we often have a lively chat, but I think folks are really into this topic. So.
it's more like a number twofer.
That was funny.
Oh my.
Oh, let's see. Starcacher says, since I've been caching, I rarely travel more than an hour without making a geocaching stop.
As one does.
Seaback Tribe says, I always love traveling with my little guy because he would sit up on his hind legs and then his front legs are running like crazy in the air. He was always adorable to see.
That would be, yeah, for sure.
I'm amazed. The dog I have now loves to go on rides. You tell her, let's go for a ride, and she starts spinning circles and ready to go out. But she'll either get up in the back seat. Well, she used to, we put her up on the back seat now. She would always get on the floorboards of the back and curl up there and be just as happy as can be. Never wanted to stick her head out the window, never even wanted to look out the window.
Yeah, they're all different, eh?
Isn't that funny?
They're all different.
Here's maybe switching topics a little bit, but this is a great pro tip about having a dog. Kitty Quest says, in suburban areas, having a dog along can give you a great shield against looking too suspicious to muggles when you're hanging around a spot too long looking for a geocache. So
exactly, especially if you put a poop bag in your hand.
No one's gonna bother you.
No, stay away from him.
No, it's true. Using a dog as a ruse is really good.
Excellent.
Brian Lang says, my parents used to have a dog towel in their camper van to wipe the dog feet when returning into the van. Yeah. My parents once taught their dog to, when the dog would go get a drink, it would have to stand over the bowl until they came and wiped its mouth. Otherwise, it would drip throughout the house. So they taught it, if you get a drink, you have to wait for us. Wow. And that dog would just sit there and stare at them like, hey, I'm ready.
I'm ready. Clean my chin, please.
I'm like, what did you guys do to your dog?
Crazy.
Wow.
My mom got tired of wiping up the drips all around the house. So
wow, amazing that she could train the dog.
No,
it's pretty crazy.
It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it would take me by surprise. That's for sure. Excellent. Well, Mark, we're getting close to the end of the podcast time. We've been really enjoying talking about this. Do you have any other tips that you thought of about caching with canines that you want to share with our listeners?
Well, it's always fun to do photography while you're caching with them. So, like at virtuals, I try to get him in the picture. That one is at the Continental Divide in Canada.
Oh, so, nice.
Very cool.
And that is a virtual right there. He
seems to prefer east over west.
Yeah, exactly.
You're assuming that's the direction the picture was taken in.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming.
Well, he's facing the Pacific Ocean, so yes.
Okay, so he prefers west over east.
Well, he was just still getting over the high of Geo Woodstock when we're going to Calgary. So he's like, "Oh, I want to go back."
Actually, that's a good point as well. So we've talked about taking the dogs in hotels and in restaurants. We earlier talked about the Sidetrack series and your caching name, Subwaymark. What about taking dogs on transit?
Oh, yeah. So that's a pretty rare thing to do, because not too many transit systems really appreciate dogs. But if you go to Calgary, they can go on the light rail system. And I posted this on the Calgary Transit promotes the fact that they allow pets on, and they sent a Twitter photo out of dogs on a bus, and so Twitter responded to them with this photo, and they said, "Can we use this photo?" Because it shows a happy dog on a leash at the train station. So because that's the rule, they need to be on a leash. So
okay.
and he had a great time. We rode all around the system and he had a good time.
Nice.
Dylan's is a good puppers.
He is.
He also figured out he loves the newest cars on Calgary's system because the windows on the doors go lower on the brand new cars, and he could look out just by look, I can see out.
That's so cute. Very cute.
Nice. Let's see. We have one here from Kitty Quest. This says, I was wondering if it was planned that this show is on the same day as the National Dog Show in New York City.
Of course it was planned that way.
Obviously. I mean, this is caching in the Northwest. Come on.
Exactly. You plan this months in advance.
Mm-hmm. On the topic we were discussing there about transit, Wet Coaster says in Toronto he would see dogs on the subway often. Sometimes there would be a human on the other end of the leash.
Yeah, Toronto is another one. I think in Toronto though the dogs have to pay a fare. In Calgary they're free.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't considered that. Okay, yeah. Good to know.
Seattle Metro buses allow dogs on their buses, but the dog needs to pay a fare. So there's a few transit systems.
So does Dylan usually carry cash on him to pay that fare?
I'll get an Apple Watch, put it on his leg.
Okay,
there you go.
So he can tap on.
Tap it. Yeah.
Well, now with
and track his steps.
that track steps. There you go.
Now that he's been professionally published, I'm sure the money's just going to be rolling in.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable the amount of lack of money coming in for it.
The royalties are not quite as royal as they should be, eh?
No.
Too funny. Maybe one last question here. The one right at the bottom from GSM times 2. Chris, do you want to bring that one up?
When caching with others, I would use Bellagio to distract and interact.
That is a good point. I think that goes with what Kitty Cross was saying.
I think there's another one.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Does Dylan have a geocaching account? If so, what's his geo dog name?
No, he doesn't have a geocaching account. He should, but he does not.
That feels like a lot of work for you. I don't think Dylan's gonna log much.
I could just see him typing with his paws.
Yeah.
But if he did, it would be Dylan Pickle. That was when we adopted him. That was his full name, was Dylan Pickle.
Pickle. I love it. Good stuff. All right. Well, Mark, was there anything else that you
it should be chipped, so it's just a tap and go.
Well, that's true. He is chipped.
Different kind of chip.
That would be funny. Oh my. No, I think we covered everything. Just always make sure you keep your dog, within earshot. If you let him off the leash.
Yes.
Especially down the trail. I get nervous, especially in the woods, because there are other things in the woods that he may be interested in that he chases after it, or other things, or animals that might be interested in him. So
right. I mean, being a dog that's in the house a lot or in a fenced yard, going outside, there's things they don't quite understand yet.
Like
they'll figure it out quickly, but maybe a little too late. So
yeah.
No, that's a good point. I mean, that's almost an entire episode itself, right? Like dog safety when you're out. But,
dog hazard.
Yeah, but definitely a good point as well, and a good one to maybe close on there is just some of the safety things to think about. Absolutely, go out, have fun, bring your dog with you, but and I think most dog owners are pretty responsible. Go Makino. There you go. The dog jokes have been kind of making their way in here. They've been nosing their way in. This cache was a rough find. Nice. Nice.
Wow. Bow wow.
Indeed.
And one more, GSM times 2 says I'd put a bell on Bellagio's collar when we hiked. It was a great idea. There you go.
That's a great idea. I like that idea.
Yep. Yeah, Jasper, we had a bear bell on him, not for the purposes of trying to, be a dinner bell for the bears, but More so, it just helped us always know, okay, if he went
he
around
is.
a corner and he's a little out of sight. Yeah, absolutely. No, good
Exactly.
advice.
Subwaymark, thank you so much for coming on Thanksgiving and talking about Dylan.
No worries. I'm
And
glad that.
and you too.
Oh yeah. Well,
Oh,
There he is.
there he is.
We done tuckered him out.
He's tired.
he gave up. He's like, all right, fine. You brought the
I've
full bag out and then you put it away, and I'm just now sad.
Well, I've locked him in my office, so
We had several comments that he keeps looking at the door.
I mean,
can I get out?
I'm actually at my workstation as opposed to my home station. But if I'm working from home, he actually usually is right on the other side of the door in the hallway right there. So,
Aw, that's cute.
Nice.
he
Subway Mark,
he believes in
good boy too.
Well, he believes in pandemics forever. By the way, he likes
Yes.
working from home.
I bet. Yeah.
Oh, think about all those poor dogs that for 2 to 3 years, everybody was home and it was happy, and now we have to go back into work, and they're like, "What did I do? Why is everybody gone?"
Exactly.
Oh dear.
Oh, and listeners, we want to thank you for tuning into this episode of Caching in the Northwest.
Absolutely. It's been a lot of fun. Glad to have Mark and Dylan on the podcast tonight. And we want to take a moment to thank Land Sharks and Gold Country Geotourism, our two Denali level supporters. Remember, landsharks.ca is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check out their Black Friday sales online right now, and they're shipping those orders. And for absolutely amazing geocaching adventures and two geo tours, check out exploregoldcountry.com. And folks, we want to thank all of our faithful Denali level supporters. That's Land Sharks, Gold Country Geotourism, Team Squirrel, Groovy Owl, and Cachly, the geocaching app. If you want to know more about supporting this show, click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com a website.
Like gas station tuna did.
And RE54321.
Tick Magnet.
Geo Nav Pro.
Ooh. Fairwood West.
That guy. Subwaymark.
Utox to Rocks.
UDAC.
M-Nerve.
J-Car.
How about Keats 94?
How about Peach of, I'm assuming, Washington?
That's her name. She may not be there at the
It's
moment.
around.
How about the properly pronounced, the AKER doc? Acker doc.
I dislike saying Ackerdoc.
I do too.
AKER doc. We have been edumacated. All right. Also, the Arnott Dot family.
And Sprouter.
And Team Noltex.
Seabeck Tribe, who hosts great events.
Yes, indeed. And the appropriately named for this podcast,
Ooh.
Kennel Barb.
Green Words.
Sege Hove.
Wet Coaster.
That threw you off, eh? Because it has my initials beside it. But since we're only rotating between two people, we have to kind of do this a little behind the scenes here for folks. All right. Anyways.
I didn't update the list for two people.
Yeah. Why bother?
We're reading a 3-person list with only 2 people. So
the math don't work. All right. Speaking of the math don't work, it's Limax.
Logwork.
Kitty Quest.
Skyhawker.
Not watching the podcast tonight because she's watching Lego Masters. Is it not? Is it Lego Masters? Lego.
Yes. Lego Masters. Trust me.
Masters. All right. Well, we're going to talk about that later in the after show. But
different name in Canada.
All right. Well, that's Dora Moore.
After all that, how about B Pendragon?
And Ala Robrick.
And very active in the chat tonight, GSM times 2.
And Genies.
Kid Vegas 19.
Antaeus.
Trexer.
Kind of the wrong name for this podcast, but MC3 Cats.
Notice he didn't show up on the dog podcast. I'm just saying. Yeah. Kev MacD.
Korsgat.
CRS 98, also active in the chat.
One of my favorite superheroes, Flagman.
How about the Camp Clan?
Sure, another favorite superhero. Just finding our way.
Boomer 365.
One of our favorite kitchen appliances, the LG 9000.
And of course, Donners.
Of course.
Yes, we're staring at you. Subwaymark, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you to get some of these great dog tips or just get a picture of Dylan, because, why not? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
You can message me on geocaching.com at Subwaymark or email me at subwaymark@gmail.com.
Perfect. And folks, thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Your support helps keep quality shows coming. If you like the show, click the Patreon link on the cachingandw.com website. If you didn't like the show, let us know what you want to talk about. In either case, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and more. Subscribe and give us one of those reviews, because if you were in a restaurant, you would tip. If you were in a live audience, you would clap. But since you're on a podcast, leave us a free, fast, fabulous, fantastic 5-star review. You can also call into 253-693-TFTC. Leave us a comment, ask a question, or give snacks to our pets at any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingandw.com. Join us live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific for a live show and even livelier chat. The show is produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, and Jay Kennedy. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2022 by Chris Umfenauer. Folks, I ask you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
There he is. I missed him.
Yeah.
I feel better now.
Yeah. Hey, and this is, the point in the show. Actually, I usually do it at the start when I realize that Jim isn't joining us. and remind folks that if you missed Wit's End, well, send him a message on Twitter. Just tag him in maybe. Well, there'll be a Twitter post for this podcast episode, and tag him there and just let him know you missed him tonight.
That's
or
right.
on Facebook or wherever. Let him know. Let him know he was missed. We all like to know when we're missed. All right. Lots of stuff for
Boy,
show.
yeah.
He said
because someone has to make the obvious joke. I'll get it over with. Oh, great. This podcast has gone to the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. That ship sailed a long time ago. Right around episode 100, I think.
That was a rough joke.
Oh boy.
The hits just keep on coming.
Yeah. Now, if you're going to be making dog jokes, I advise you pause for a moment.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Let's see. Dylan, 4 people and 3 dogs for Thanksgiving. Never let them outnumber you.
That is too funny.
It's true.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, GSM times 2 says he regretted he didn't scent train Bellagio to sniff out plastic bags.
How you doing tonight, Chris?
I don't know.
Tired?
Must be.
I like this one
Simple
from
reading.
I like this one from CRS 98. This one is right after my heart. Hashtag podcast baking. Lots of cooking over the past 2 days, but his biggest hit was a chocolate Guinness cake.
Ooh, sounds good.
That does sound good.
That sounds really good.
All right. Speaking of podcast baking, Monkey Cakes is baking chocolate chip cookies. Well, there's a nice traditional treat to enjoy.
Nice.
Seebeck Tribe has one for you there, Chris.
Seebeck Tribe hosted a great event over the weekend, and she was able to bring in portable escape rooms. Never heard of this concept before. Actually, what they were, they're rentable from a local escape room facility. What do you call them? Business.
Yeah.
They're old voting booths that have been modified in a way. So, you open up you have to figure out all the ways to open everything up, right? But when you do, you open up the back, and then there's 2 sides. So it makes this, kind of study carol like. It's very inclusive, and we found that if we had more than 2 or 3 people around it, it was really hard to see inside. But nonetheless, so much fun to do escape rooms. They had just had tables set up with this big suitcase on it, and you came in and figured out how to open it. And the first one took us a while, and then we found on the next ones, oh look, they're using the same pattern, right? The first code opens up a separate container that gets you hints to open up one of the locks on the device, and then the last one gets you the last lock. Okay.
What a neat idea. That's really cool. That sounds like a really fun event.
It was a lot of fun. And then she has a nearby 5.5 cache that called Airmail.
Oh, you were mentioning that last episode. Yeah.
Was I? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it was after the episode you mentioned it to me, but yeah. Okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
Cool.
And that was a lot of fun to do. A multi cache with 5.5 because you needed a special tool, which happened to be brought to the event.
Bwaha. Very nice. Very cool.
So
very cool.
Very well done.
And speaking of Seaback Tribe, shout out to Seaback Tribe. I enjoyed finding some of her caches when we did the Olympic Peninsula Geo Tour recently, the WSGA Geo Tour, and got a lovely note from Seaback Tribe.
Aw.
Yeah. All right. What else we got?
Okay. GSM times 2. There I go. I'm sorry. I'm having troubles tonight. Wants to know who's getting a Cache Advance Traveler. So if you signed up to get a Cashkins from Cache Advance through the geocaching connection they're having this month.
The promotion, the trackable promotion.
Thank you. That's it. That's the exact words I was looking for. They want to know who's getting one. Now,
There you go.
I know that there was a mistake that some of the people were getting, hey, you've won a traveler, but it wasn't their right name.
Oh, that's weird.
There was some confusion there. So,
yeah. Well, I also saw some pictures of Lookout Lisa having a work party at the office, packaging things up to send them out to folks. So
to mail out 3,500 trackables.
Right? Wow. Thanks to everybody, if you're listening to the podcast, who went and helped Lisa to mail those out. That was obviously a lot of work to do, and I'm sure everyone who is getting one appreciates all the effort.
Geocaching HQ, by the way, is making it right. So if you received an email saying that you won a traveler, and it didn't have your correct username, geocaching name on top, they're going to send you one anyway. But it may be a while because they have to make more.
If they want to really make it right.
No, they are
Canada.
In Canada. Okay.
Just saying.
So there you go. If you getting one of these, terrible reflections. But
there you go.
A cash crate coming to the mailbox, Cashkins. Dylan wants out again.
I see that.
All right, we better wrap it up soon. Dylan's getting restless.
It's his bedtime.
All right.
How about Keats?
Yeah, a couple more here. Keats is taking some time to refocus the YouTube channel, so there will be no video tomorrow. Sorry about that. He's brainstorming some better content and taking a break from editing. Fair enough. That's a lot of work. Komakino is announcing a new episode of Geocaching with Komakino and the Kid tomorrow. It's their 2021 GIF episode that was filmed last year. Awesome. So that'll be fun. Good to see that.
Oh, nice.
Here's
another podcast baking.
Read that one, Chris.
Monkey cakes. I was baking in the kitchen in our hotel room. It was store-bought cookie dough. That's okay though. You're actually baking.
I bet that is one good smelling hotel room.
Yes. Better than wet dog anytime.
Awesome. All right. Well, Mark, thank you, and Dylan, so much. We really enjoyed hanging out with you guys tonight.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Our pleasure.
Thank you so much. And until next week, get out and get caching in the Northwest.